Let me tell you something that might sting a little. When a woman ignores you, it's almost never random. It's not confusion. It's not she's just busy. And it's definitely not because she didn't see your message. She saw it. She just chose not to respond. Now, before you jump to conclusions, no, this doesn't always mean she doesn't like you. Sometimes it means the exact opposite. And that's where it gets dangerous. Because most men completely misread this situation and end up pushing her even further away. Stay till the end, because the last reason is the one that quietly destroys most chances without you even realizing it. You text her, she replies late. You try to talk, she seems distant. You give attention, she pulls away. And the more you try, the worse it gets. Why? Because you're reacting to the surface, not understanding what's happening underneath. Before we dive deeper, a quick message. If you've been learning from my videos and you want to support this work, you can subscribe to me on Facebook with a paid membership, send stars, or join my YouTube channel's paid community. Your support helps me create more powerful content for you, and I truly appreciate every bit of it. All right, now let's continue. 1. She ignores you to test your value. This is one of the oldest psychological patterns. And yet, most men fail it instantly. When a woman starts ignoring you, it's often a test. Not a conscious one, but an emotional one. She wants to see. Will you panic? Will you double text? Will you start chasing harder? Because your reaction tells her everything. If you lose control, you lose value. If you stay calm, you become interesting. Think about this. If a man's mood depends on her reply, who's really in control? Exactly. And here's what most men don't understand about this test. It's not a one-time thing. She's not testing you once and moving on. She's watching your patterns, your consistency, your self-control. One calm response doesn't win her over, but one panicked, needy reaction can undo everything you built. So when she goes quiet, your job isn't to fill the silence. Your job is to be so comfortable in that silence that she starts to wonder why it doesn't affect you. That curiosity? That's attraction beginning. 2, she's losing attraction because you're too available. This one hurts, but it's real. Attraction doesn't grow in comfort alone. It grows in space. When you're always there, always replying fast, always ready, you remove the one thing that builds desire, uncertainty. And without uncertainty, there's nothing to think about, nothing to miss. Nothing to chase. Here's the truth. When she doesn't have to work for your attention, she stops valuing it. Ever noticed how people want what feels slightly out of reach? Yeah, same rule applies here. Think about your own life. The things you value most are the things you had to wait for, work for, wonder about. Attention is no different. When you hand it over freely, without any resistance, without any mystery, it becomes cheap. And cheap things don't hold value. The 6 isn't to be cold. It isn't to play games. It's to simply have a life that pulls your attention elsewhere. Genuine interests, real priorities, a sense of direction. When she sees that you're not sitting there waiting, something shifts. Suddenly your attention feels like something worth earning. And that changes everything. 3, she wants to regain emotional control sometimes. She ignores you not because she doesn't care, but because she feels too much. And that scares her. When emotions start getting intense, some women pull back to regain control. It's not about you. It's about her needing space to process. But here's where men mess up. Instead of giving space, they chase. And chasing in that moment turns attraction into pressure. The moment you turn into pressure, you stop being desire. Let that sink in. Because pressure and desire cannot coexist. One pushes, the other pulls. And when you chase someone who needs space, you're not showing love. You're showing anxiety. And anxiety is not attractive. What is attractive? Stability. The man who can feel the distance, acknowledge it internally, and still not flinch. That man doesn't just survive the silence. He becomes more powerful inside it because she starts to realize his world doesn't collapse without her. And that realization? It pulls her back in more effectively than any message ever could. 4, you became too predictable, let's be honest. She already knows what you're going to do next. You'll text. You'll reply instantly. You'll agree with her. You'll stay available. There's no mystery left. And when there's no mystery, there's no excitement. Ignoring you becomes easy because there's nothing pulling her back in. Attraction needs tension, not drama, but a little unpredictability. Without it, everything feels flat. If she can predict you, she can control the entire dynamic. And that's where attraction dies. Now understand something important here. Predictability isn't just about texting habits. It's about how you think, how you respond, how you carry yourself. If every conversation ends the same way, if your opinions always align with hers, if your mood always brightens the moment she gives you attention, you've become a pattern. And patterns get ignored, not because she dislikes you, but because there's no stimulation, no edge, no question mark. The most magnetic people in the world have one thing in common. You never fully figure them out. And that incompleteness, that open loop in her mind, keeps you there, long after the conversation ends. 5. She doesn't feel your presence strong enough. This is the one nobody talks about. Sometimes, she ignores you simply because you don't stand out, not because you're bad, but because you're neutral. And neutral is invisible. If your conversations feel like everyone else's, if your energy doesn't create any impact, then there's no emotional reason for her to respond. Let me say that again. No emotional impact means no emotional response. You don't get ignored because you're not good enough. You get ignored because you're not memorable enough. So what creates presence? It's not looks. It's not money. It's not status. Those things help, but they're not the root. Presence is created by how you make someone feel about themselves when they're around you. Do your conversations challenge her? Do they make her laugh in a way she didn't expect? Do they leave her with a thought she carries into the rest of her day? If the answer is no, then the problem isn't her lack of response. The problem is the lack of impact. And impact isn't built by being louder, or more persistent, or more complimentary. It's built by being genuinely interesting, by having depth, by having standards, by saying the thing others are afraid to say. That's presence. And presence is what makes someone impossible to ignore. 6. She's testing whether you'll walk away. Here's a reason most people never mention. Sometimes she ignores you to see if you'll leave. Not because she wants you to, but because she needs to know you could. There's a deep psychological truth buried in this. People only feel safe with someone who has options. If she senses that you'll stay no matter what she does, no matter how she treats you, no matter how little she gives, she loses respect. Slowly, quietly, without ever meaning to, because attraction is not built on desperation. It's built on choice. When she sees that your time is limited, that your energy is valuable, that you're not going to sit around indefinitely waiting, something inside her recalibrates. She stops taking the connection for granted, because suddenly, there's something real to lose. The man who can walk away is always the man she thinks about after. And this doesn't mean being cruel. It doesn't mean playing games. It means having enough self-respect to invest in people who invest back. That's not manipulation. That's maturity. 7. The energy shift she can feel but never explain. This is subtle, but it might be the most important one. At some point in every dynamic, there's a shift. One person starts needing the connection more than the other. And when that shift happens, the other person feels it. Not through words, not through actions, through energy. And when you start needing her responses, when you start feeling anxious between messages, when her attention becomes the metric for your mood, she feels that, even through a screen, even through silence. And it repels her, not because she's heartless, but because that kind of energy places a weight on a connection that's too new to carry it. Neediness isn't visible, but it's always felt. The shift happens in you first. Before any double text, before any, hey, you okay? It starts as a thought, a slight anxiety, a compulsive check of the phone. And the antidote isn't a strategy. It's perspective. Remembering that she is one person in a full life, not the entire life itself. When you genuinely operate from that place, everything about you changes. The way you write, the way you wait, the way you respond when she finally does reach out. And she'll notice, because that kind of groundedness is rarer than you think. Now here's the truth most men don't want to hear. Ignoring is not always rejection. Sometimes it's a reaction to your energy, to your behavior, to the dynamic you created. And the worst thing you can do is chase harder, because chasing doesn't fix the problem. It confirms it. It confirms that her silence has power over you. It confirms that you need her more than she needs you. It confirms the very pattern that pushed her away in the first place. So what do you do instead? You stop performing. You stop texting to manage your anxiety. You stop reaching out to feel in control. You stop interpreting her silence as a problem that needs your intervention. And you start doing something much harder. You focus inward, not as a tactic, not to make her jealous, but because your attention belongs to your own life first, your goals, your growth, your relationships with people who show up consistently. When that becomes your reality, not just a mindset you perform, the entire dynamic shifts. Because now you're not reacting to her. You're living in spite of the silence. And living well in the silence is the most powerful thing a man can do. When you understand these patterns, everything changes. You stop reacting emotionally and start observing strategically. You stop overthinking and start seeing clearly. You stop mistaking anxiety for love. You stop confusing attachment for connection. And you start recognizing the difference between someone who's testing you and someone who simply isn't ready. Both deserve your respect. Neither deserves your peace. Because at the end of all of this, the goal isn't to win a game. The goal is to become someone so grounded, so interesting, so genuinely full, that being ignored doesn't shake you. It informs you. It tells you what you need to know about the dynamic, about the other person, about where you should invest your energy. And suddenly, you're not the one waiting for replies anymore. You're the one being thought about. If this made you look at things differently, then you already know what to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to check out the other videos here, because what you learned today is just the beginning.